I never really thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this. Heather and I had been married for 6 years before she started acting weird, and honestly, I should have seen it coming. Looking back, there were little things, late nights at work that turned into early mornings, strange texts she'd hide when I walked into the room, a sudden interest in her phone that she always claimed was nothing. But I was too blind, too trusting. Heather's always been the kind of woman who can lie with a straight face, and she's damn good at making you believe whatever she wants. We met in college. She was a pretty smart girl, always textbook perfect, and I fell for her quick. She was ambitious, always talking about our future kids, a house in the suburbs, the whole American dream. I was happy, or so I thought. We moved in together right after college, got married 2 years later. Things seemed solid, even if we weren't perfect. I worked a decent job. She was climbing the ladder at her marketing firm. We didn't fight much, and we had our routines. But somewhere along the line, I started feeling like I was losing her. Not in the obvious way. She still smiled at me, still said she loved me. But the vibe was different. She was more distant, snippy, sarcastic, like she'd snap at me for no reason or roll her eyes when I brought up things she didn't want to talk about. Looking back, I had my suspicions, but I brushed them off for a long time. I thought maybe I was just overthinking, or maybe it was work stress. Then the signs started piling up. She'd suddenly be too busy to join me for dinner, or she'd cancel plans last minute because of some urgent client meeting. And her phone, she'd always have it with her, never leaving it lying around like she used to. The worst was the way she'd get defensive if I even glanced at her screen. She'd say I'm being paranoid, that I don't trust her, that I have no reason to doubt her. But I knew deep down something wasn't right. One night I decided to play detective. I've never been that guy, but I felt like I needed to know the truth. I checked her phone when she was in the shower. I found a string of messages, flirty, suggestive messages from someone named Professor Miller. Yeah, she had a crush on her college professor, the one who mentored her during her graduate research, the one she always brought up with a weird fondness. I saw pictures. He was a handsome guy, older, with a confident smirk. They'd been talking for months, apparently. I saw enough to realize she'd been cheating on me with him, and it wasn't just a casual thing, it was serious. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept scrolling and found something even worse, an email from her to him, titled Our Secret, where she was talking about how much she missed him when she was away at that conference last month. She lied so convincingly about attending a work retreat, but I knew she was at some academic conference he was also at. She told me she couldn't make it because of work, and I believed her because she's a master manipulator. But now I knew she was lying. That same conference was the one where someone who saw her with him, had texted me about it. Said they saw Heather and Professor Miller together, holding hands, looking pretty cozy. I was furious, not just because she cheated, but because she lied to my face about everything. The fact that she could look me in the eye and deny it, then go behind my back so blatantly. I felt betrayed on every level. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't even know how. I felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. All those years of trust shattered in one click. I never imagined I'd be the guy whose wife cheated on him with someone she once admired, someone who mentored her during her thesis. It's a sick kind of betrayal, the kind that stays with you. And I knew from that moment things would never be the same. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, they all hit me at once like a freight train. I remember sitting on the couch, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. I knew I couldn't just let it slide. I had to confront her, but I also knew that whatever I said, she'd probably lie again or try to spin it into some kind of excuse. That's just who Heather is. She's a master at twisting things around, making herself the victim while I'm the bad guy. That's how she's always operated, got me wrapped around her finger, but not anymore. I needed to hear it from her face to face. So I waited until she came home from work the next day. She was her typical bitchy self, snippy, dismissive, like she knew she had the upper hand. I was already boiling, and I didn't hold back. I pulled out my phone, showed her the messages, the email, the pictures, everything I'd found. Her eyes widened for a second, then she smirked like she was amused by my attempt to catch her. "Oh, come on," she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. "You really think I'd do something so stupid? You're overreacting as usual." I wasn't buying her bullshit. I told her how I knew everything, the conference, the affair, the lies, her reaction. She stormed right into full-on denial mode. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're just jealous because you're stuck at that stupid desk all day and I'm out there trying to make a life for us. That man, Miller, he's just an old friend. We had a few drinks, that's all. You're making a big deal out of nothing." She looked at me with those cold, bitchy eyes, expecting me to buy her crap, but I didn't. I felt sick. I'd trusted her and she'd been screwing around behind my back, lying every step of the way. I pressed her harder. "How long has this been going on?" I demanded. She rolled her eyes, scoffing. "Since the conference, maybe a little before, but it's nothing serious, I swear." She then threw in her classic line. "You're crazy, you're paranoid, and I can't believe I married someone so insecure." That last part stung worse than anything. I felt like I'd been punched again, only this time by someone I thought I loved. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she just brush it off as if it was nothing? After the confrontation, I was left with this raw, burning pain. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. All I saw was her face, the way she lied so convincingly, the way she dismissed my feelings like I was some kind of idiot. I started questioning everything. Our entire relationship, what I missed, what I ignored. Was I just too blind to see the signs? Or was she always this manipulative? I was furious at her for cheating and furious at myself for not catching her sooner. That feeling of betrayal is the worst thing I've ever experienced. It's like suddenly realizing the person you trusted most in the world has been secretly stabbing you in the back all along. I felt numb, but at the same time, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to decide what my next move was, and honestly, I was already leaning toward cutting her out of my life completely. After that confrontation, things didn't get any easier. Heather kept up her act, throwing around blame and denials like it was some kind game. She told me I was crazy, jealous, insecure, everything she could think of to make me doubt my own mind. She was a master at gaslighting, and for a while I almost believed her. She was so good at it that I found myself questioning whether I'd really seen what I saw or if I'd just lost my mind. But deep down, I knew the truth was right there in that phone, that email, those pictures. I wasn't imagining it. She kept lying, too. Said she only got close to Miller because she felt stuck in her career, that he was just mentoring her, that it was all innocent. I wanted to believe her, that maybe it was just a dumb mistake, a moment of weakness. But I couldn't forget what I'd seen and read. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him, smiling, holding hands, whispering secrets. That image branded itself into my brain like a scar I couldn't ignore. I started planning what to do next. At first, I thought maybe we could patch things up. I love her, or at least I thought I did. I thought maybe I could forgive her, forget the betrayal, move on. But then I remembered how she lied, how she dismissed me, how she thought she could get away with it all. That's when anger started creeping in. Not just anger toward her, but anger at myself for ever trusting her in the first place. I realized I'd been a fool, letting her manipulate me into thinking everything was normal. I spent nights lying awake, trying to come up with a plan. Should I confront her again? Should I just pack my bags and walk away? The idea of divorce wasn't appealing, but it also seemed inevitable at that point. The trust was shattered beyond repair. I couldn't see a way back from this, no matter how much I wanted to believe in us. For now, I decided I'd gather more evidence. If she was cheating, I needed proof that would leave no doubt. I started checking her emails, her social media, her bank statements, anything that could tell me more about what she was doing behind my back. Meanwhile, Heather played her part perfectly. She kept her bitchy attitude, kept up her lies, and even started trying to gaslight me more, accusing me of being obsessive and paranoid. She'd say I was crazy for snooping around, that I was imagining things, that I needed help. Her words cut deep. She's good at making herself look the victim, even as she's out there screwing someone else. I could see right through her act now, but it didn't make it hurt any less. I felt a strange mix of rage and sadness. Rage that she could do this to me, and sadness because I Still loved her even after everything. It hit me hard that I was fighting for a relationship that was already dead. I don't know if I was trying to save it out of hope or just denial, but I knew deep down I had to make a choice. Keep going down this road and risk more heartbreak, or finally cut her out and start healing. Either way, I was done being the fool, the one getting played. I decided I'd keep digging, get the concrete proof I needed, and then confront her again, only this time with the full weight of what I'd uncovered. I was angry, betrayed, but also determined. No matter what she said next, I was done being played for a fool. The truth would come out, and I'd decide what to do from there. The more I dug into her stuff, the clearer it became that Heather was knee-deep in this affair, and her lies only got more elaborate. I found messages from Miller on her email, nothing explicit, but enough to make it obvious they'd crossed lines. They were talking about meeting up at that conference, planning little getaways, exchanging flirty messages right under my nose. I even found some deleted texts on her phone that she tried to hide, but I managed to recover them. She told me she was working late or attending seminars, but the truth was, she'd been sneaking around with her old college professor, that arrogant bastard who mentored her during her graduate research. I felt a surge of rage every time I uncovered more. The fact that they'd been doing this behind my back for months, maybe longer, made me want to explode. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting, while she was out there screwing some older guy who used to be her mentor. It was like a punch in the stomach every time I thought about it. I kept asking myself, how could she lie so easily? How did I not see all these signals? Was I just too stupid, too naive? I felt like a complete idiot for trusting her in the first place. One night I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I sat her down, told her I knew everything about the affair, the lies, the sneaking around. Her reaction didn't surprise me. She got defensive, started throwing insults my way. "You're pathetic," she spat. "You're not even worth my time. I don't know why I married someone so insecure." Her words hit me like a slap. That's when I saw the true nature of the woman I'd married: manipulative, selfish, and completely indifferent to how much she'd hurt me. I felt my chest tighten with anger and sadness all at once. I asked her straight out, "Are you sleeping with him? Are you having sex with Miller?" She looked at me with that bitchy smirk and said, "Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Who cares? You're not my real problem anyway." That line pushed me over the edge. I realized I was wasting my breath trying to get her to admit anything. She was a master at lying, and I was just a pawn in her game. I knew then that I had to decide what I was going to do, whether to try and fix this or cut my losses. In the days that followed, I started planning my next move. I knew I needed more proof, something irrefutable that would make her finally admit she was cheating. I wanted to see her break down, to see her realize I wasn't some fool she could manipulate anymore. I also knew I had to prepare myself emotionally because I was teetering on the edge of a breakdown. The betrayal was raw, real, and it cut deep. Every time I thought about her with Miller, her old professor, that arrogant, smug bastard, it made me want to scream. How could she do this? How could she lie and steal my trust like this and then act like I was the problem? I started recording her conversations when she wasn't looking, monitoring her texts, and even installing a spy app on her phone. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed the concrete proof that she was unfaithful. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I couldn't let her get away with it. Not after everything. I was already preparing for the inevitable confrontation, when I had enough evidence to finally call her out and demand answers. I knew that whatever I found, it would change everything. And honestly, I was terrified of what the aftermath might be, but I also knew I couldn't go on living in this lie. I deserved better than this kind of betrayal. I had to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and mounting anger. I kept gathering evidence, each new discovery fueling my desire to finally confront Heather and put an end to her lies. I found that she'd been meeting him more often than I wanted to admit, sometimes in places I never would have suspected. She was confident, too confident, and that made her reckless. I caught her in little lies about where she'd been, who she'd seen. She'd say she was at work dinners or networking events, but I had the proof she was sneaking around with Miller. It's like she thought she was invincible, that I'd never catch her. One night I finally had enough. I sat her down again, this time with all the evidence laid out on my phone, printed out texts, copies of emails. I looked her in the eyes and told her I knew everything. Her reaction was a mixture of sneering indifference and irritation, like I was bothering her with my petty accusations. She shrugged, trying to play it off like I was just overreacting. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "It's not like I'm sleeping with him every night. It's just sex, you know. It's not the end of the world." That's when I felt a cold wave of realization. She didn't care about me. She didn't care about us. She started lying again, saying she and Miller were just friends, that she didn't even love him, that it was just sex to scratch some itch. She told me I was insecure, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. But her words just made me more furious. How could she be so callous? How could she treat our marriage like it was some game she could just walk away from? I saw right through her. She was a cold, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with anything because she was pretty and used her words like weapons. I felt my emotions swirling: rage, betrayal, sadness, even a touch of disgust. I'd loved this woman, trusted her, and she'd turned around and sneered at me like I was some kind of idiot. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her see how much she'd destroyed. But I knew that wasn't going to change anything. The damage was done. I realized I'd been holding on to hope that she might change, that she might admit she screwed up. But the truth was, she didn't care enough to even try. She just wanted to keep her little secret, keep her affair going without any remorse. That moment I made up my mind. I told her I was done. Done pretending, done trusting her, done being her fool. I said I was leaving and I wasn't coming back. I didn't want to hear any more lies. I wanted her to know I saw through her, that I knew exactly what she was. She threw a tantrum, yelling, crying, calling me crazy. But I didn't care. I'd had enough of her bitchy, manipulative attitude. I was tired of feeling like I was the bad guy in a story she was rewriting in her favor. As I packed my things that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Part of me still loved her, still wanted to believe she'd change, but I knew that wasn't happening. She'd chosen her affair over us, and I had to accept that. I realized I was finally freeing myself from the illusion of the perfect marriage I'd thought we had. This pain, this betrayal, it was a wake-up call. I had been blinded by love and trust, and now I saw her for what she truly was: a selfish, lying bitch who didn't give a damn about the vows she took. Moving forward, I knew I'd have to rebuild my life from this wreckage. But I also knew one thing for sure: she'd lose everything, and I'd make damn sure she remembered that she was the one who threw it all away. The aftermath was exactly what I expected: chaotic, painful, and messy. I moved out that night, taking only what I could carry, leaving Heather behind in a place that no longer felt like home. The first days were a haze of sleeplessness and overwhelming emotion. Every time I saw her face on the phone or in a picture, a surge of anger would drown me. How could she do this? How could she betray everything we built? I couldn't even hold a conversation without feeling my chest tighten or my voice crack. I still loved her, but it was a love filled with bitterness, disappointment, and a deep-rooted sense of betrayal. In the weeks that followed, I began to rebuild myself. I got rid of most of her stuff, closed the chapter on what used to be our life together. It wasn't easy, but I realized I deserved better than someone who would lie, cheat, and manipulate me. I started focusing on myself, my job, my friends, things I enjoyed before I got married. The anger still lingered, but underneath it, there was a clarity I hadn't allowed myself before. I saw her for who she really was: selfish, bitchy, and entirely incapable of real honesty. And honestly, I felt relief. The weight of her lies and betrayal had been lifted. Looking back, I've learned a lot from this experience, lessons I wouldn't wish on anyone. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I also learned that no matter how much you love someone, they can still choose to destroy that love with lies and selfishness. If I'd known how toxic Heather was, I'd have walked away a long time ago. But you only see the truth when it's staring right in your face, crushing your soul. Now, I'm at a point where I can breathe again. The pain is still there, but it's not consuming me anymore. I know I'll recover fully someday, and I've started to see the possibility of a future without her. If there's one thing I want to tell anyone going through something similar, it's this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how much you love someone. If they lie once, they'll lie again. And the second, third, fourth times aren't worth sacrificing your peace of mind. You're better off alone than in a relationship built on deception. This experience has changed me, made me more cautious, more aware of what I deserve. I won't be that guy who gets played again. Heather's betrayal showed me my strength, how I can survive this, how I can rebuild. And honestly, I'm thankful it happened in a twisted way. It's made me realize that I don't need someone who manipulates and lies to feel whole. I can be whole on my own, and maybe someday I'll find someone who values honesty and respect as much as I do. For now, I focus on healing, moving forward, and never letting someone like Heather get that close again.